as much as anybody from any caste can attain heaven. Now, if all these things were to be told, not only to persons who believe in the Gita, but those who know nothing about the Gita, I think that we would become much more cohesive as a whole. And above all, if you mediators have not read these great texts, I must exhort you to read every one of them. Because as a mediator, the tools of compassion, justice, psychiatry are all found in these texts. And they will give you such a beautiful idea of why you are here and where you are likely to go, that your mediation skills will be honed. And may you all, therefore, ultimately become somewhat like the great mediator, Mahatma Gandhi, through these great texts. Thank you all very much. As much as anybody from any caste can attain heaven. Now, if all these things were to be told, not only to persons who believe in the Gita, but those who know nothing about the Gita, I think that we would become much more cohesive as a whole. And above all, if you mediators have not read these great texts, I must exhort you to read every one of them. Because as a mediator, the tools of compassion, justice, psychiatry are all found in these texts. And they will give you such a beautiful idea of why you are here and where you are likely to go, that your mediation skills will be honed. And may you all, therefore, ultimately become somewhat like the great mediator, Mahatma Gandhi, through these great texts. Thank you all very much. as much as anybody from any caste can attain heaven. Now, if all these things were to be told, not only to persons who believe in the Gita, but those who know nothing about the Gita, I think that we would become much more cohesive as a whole. And above all, if you mediators have not read these great texts, I must exhort you to read every one of them. Because as a mediator, the tools of compassion, justice, psychiatry are all found in these texts. And they will give you such a beautiful idea of why you are here and where you are likely to go, that your mediation skills will be honed. And may you all, therefore, ultimately become somewhat like the great mediator, Mahatma Gandhi, through these great texts. Thank you all very much.
शुरू करो. Good evening, my Lord Justice Kaul and my Lord Justice Geeta Mittal, my friends in the profession, mediators, all those who knew Sadhana very well, had interactions with her. Our memory goes back to 2006, when none less by my Lord Justice Kaul was with us, and we started the journey of mediation. Sadhana joined us a little later, and her initial apprehension to me was that since I am coming from the Supreme Court, in Delhi High Court will not accept me. But after a few days, or maybe a month or so, I remember she come up to me and say, I never knew that your hands were so large that you could accommodate anybody. She was, I think, very rarely mother gives birth to such children. And extraordinary. What you see of mediation today in Delhi, a large part of it is pushed by her, foundations laid by her, paths shown by her. And we have personally seen her, whether it was India, whether we went to Lucknow or we went to East, Assam. My Lord Justice Geeta Mittal will recall we all came to Srinagar when the Lordship was the Chief Justice there. Everywhere we saw her leading the path, showing us the way, how conflicts have to be resolved. Her art, especially in relation to family matters, was unique. And I remember as president of the bar in those days, 2-3 times I had to request the registry or in fact the security to keep the mediation center open so that she can complete her mediation. And she was the one who had a matter coming to her when the couple was divorced. The dispute was with respect to alimony, and she got them married again and sent them back. That was what we lost in Sadhana Ramachandra. We all remember her fondly. We miss her terribly. But we pledge at the same time that whatever path she has laid for us, we are not going to forget. We'll continue in effort. We'll move ahead. And I don't think on this occasion there could be any better person than the two honorable judges with us, who would not only say something about the topic that we have made, but also about sadhana. But before I request my lords to say something, may I request that please show us a small film on what we have prepared for sadhana. Can you please show that, please?
This journey. This journey, as you could all see, would not have been possible without the visionary leadership of Madhyam's president, Mr. Chandyok, who has guided not only Madhyam, but Samas every inch of the way. Nor without Madhyam's team, crazy, lovable, passionate, full of life, and full of talent. JP, Neelam, Sarika, Pooja, Amita, Sumit, Mitali.
Am I audible, my lords?
Yes, you're now audible, yes.
Okay. For us, it's a great day, my lord. And a great day for many reasons. One is that we are celebrating her birthday. And there can't be a better occasion for us when we are meeting your lordships, both my lord, this is Sanjay Kishan Kaul and this is Geeta Mithul. Both have been associated and pioneers of mediation. When we started mediation in Delhi High Court, 2006, nobody knew we'll reach the level that we have reached today. But thanks to both of them, they pushed us, they cudgeled us, they loved us, and told us to move forward. And you see the result today. In fact, the other day at the Supreme Court, an Honorable Judge, Justice Narasimha, who used to be associated with us when Lordship was not on the bench, asked me, how's it going? When I told Lordship, this is the position today in mediation. Private mediations are coming up now. And he was very happy to learn that the mediation is taking this course. I don't want to take much time between me and my Lord Justice Kaul, but to tell you all, if you need ever a strength to do a movement, if you need a strength to do something that you wish to do, go and meet him. He will inspire you. He'll inspire you with confidence and give you so much that you'll never look back. My Lord Justice Kaul.
So, good evening, Justice Geeta Mittal, Mr. Chandyok, and all the members of the mediation family who have joined today. Let me say that each one of us who comes into this world has his own path and journey and leaves some footprints in the sand. Sadhana was a classic example of it. um, married to a lawyer who litigated. Her passion lay elsewhere, I think, as Raju would vouch now, having connected here. Her passion was how to see that people move together, not to battle it out. And she was extremely passionate about it and very committed to it, which was important. To begin with, Mr. Chandiok has given us a lot of kudos, but the fact remains that the initiation of mediation and its birth in Delhi owed a large extent to Justice Kachu's initiative made from the pedestal in the center hall of the Delhi High Court, I remember. And Mr. Chandiok as president coming forth and agreeing to carry it forward so long as the bar played an important role. Don't make it a judge-based mediation was his call. Judges will play their own role, but let the bar have the satisfaction of playing a role. So the Delhi Mediation Center was unique in its endeavor, and I think still remains unique in its endeavor, where it's fully managed by the bar association with reducing supervision of judges. In the initial stages, as both Justice Sikri, myself, led by Justice Reen, were involved in this process of setting up, maybe played a little more role, but then the leadership of the bar is what provided the opportunity. And today we see expanded versions of it in the private mediation centers as we see now. Sadhana joined almost, I would say, from the beginning, not at the inception, but from the early days of the movement. When people sometimes would not understand the distinction between a meditation and a mediation. And that's how people were thinking, what does this have to do with law? We were still at a nascent stage. We were in the process of learning, and we required a collective effort of the bar and the bench to have trained mediators. Um, it's always been a calling for me that not only is mediation a methodology of easing the pressures from the courts, but it's a better solution to the problem at hand, because by the end of it, you can make people walk hand in hand, which no amount of litigation can do. And that's why the all mediation training begin with the concept of the orange being cut into half and being divided, while in a mediation you look to the purpose of it and say, okay, somebody needs the rind for the jam and somebody needs the juice, they can do it separately. Sadhana plunged from the beginning into this. And the High Court, bar and bench both took an initiative to see that we created a captive audience of learning lawyers. We took them out of Delhi so that they were not rushing to their offices and were housed in Manesar, and training went on. And I think that's a very important aspect, because this principle that mediation is always a very old thing in India, it carries on, is a little different from modern mediation, which carries on. Possibly, Sri Krishna's failure to do a mediation successfully was the first failed mediation. But then equating it with the sarpanches and others doing it is very different, because that's a command, not a mediation, a voluntary exercise. So just understanding was the first issue itself. Sadhana herself went through these trainings. She took the initiative along with Mr. Chandiok, JP Singh and others to see that bar members traveled from India to take their training. This happened in the US, it happened in Singapore. The idea was to enlighten the people how modern mediation is to be held. And this process continued with even some of the judges going there under a justice exchange program and seeing what was happening. I was privileged to be one of them who went there to see the process of working, and how in a country like US, in the heart of litigation in California, the litigation was reduced to adjudicatory process to less than 3%. And in the alternative dispute resolution, mediation played an extremely important part there. So we saw how mediation was working out. To continue a working institution is a little easier, but to initiate it is a great challenge. And Sadhana was in the forefront of the initiation. He had never tried to take the credit herself. She would see to it that everybody else was involved. So a good mediator is one who collects people around. She collected people around, made that effort to see that everybody, was made the effort of the commitment to it, and she was full time into it. It was those times when there was no monetary compensation at all, so she was full time into the mediation system. The Delhi Mediation Center is a tribute to the collective effort of the bar and the bench, and Sadhana played a very important role. She headed the Delhi Mediation Center for a considerable number of years till she decided to step down herself and say that somebody else should take part. But then she was every day, evening, night there to carry on the mediation. Timings never made a difference to her. Mr. Chandiyo gave an example of how, at times you have to keep the mediation, the courts open so that the mediation could go on much beyond the court hours time. She did not hesitate to sit there till 9, 10 at night trying to finish the mediation. And that's in any mediation lecture which I gave elsewhere, I give an example that anything is possible in mediation because of the example Sadhana set, where a couple who were separated, divorced, had a child, and the issue arose of the custody of the child. That's the stage Sadhana got that matter. She realized on dealing with these people that maybe the families had played a greater role in their separation than the differences between them. She encouraged them to stay under the same roof separately, which happened, and after a period of time, a better understanding resulted in a remarriage. So it's, as he said, what better example can there be? I don't know any of us who have done mediation at different times could have given a better example of what she was able to do. She was also committed to a lot of training and she was part of the training. So when I've gone to Manesar, she would be, uh, taking active part in it. She would be lecturing the other mediators, training the other mediators as a trainer mediator after a stage of time by classic examples. So you saw a photograph of hers wearing some three caps just now, which was there. And she would give that an example. See, this is the cap I'm wearing for this purpose. She would utilize those very, very physical effects of it to show them how it worked. And we had a whole team of people who would come here, Sriram Panchu, Mr. Niranjan Bhatt, then the gentleman who had come down from America and settled down in Varanasi, who would come to tell us about postures and other things, part of the missions. She developed a very personal rapport with everybody. I think that's important. Because to lead an organization, you cannot do it alone. You have to carry people with you. I've always believed that a good manager is a person who is able to entrust the task to the right person. I give an example of a book I read early times, which was Monkeys Off the Shoulder. So, if you start picking up the work which somebody else is doing and put it on your shoulder, that's the monkey on your shoulder. The art is to get the monkey off the shoulder and find the right person to do the job. So, the credit I take to myself is that we found Sadhana, amongst others, like Mr. Chandiot and JP, to delegate them to do the task. So, we got the monkeys off our shoulder, planted them on theirs, and they carried it forward in the right spirit and the right way. Sadhana mediated all kinds of disputes, but family conflicts was an important part of her contribution. And this need not be only a husband and wife conflict. This would be even family conflicts. We are in a peculiar scenario where the core family systems have gone a little under. And with the independence comes the assertion of rights by everybody within the family. So the concept of a head of the family controlling the systems doesn't exist anymore. There are more unitary families. This has two repercussions. Once, the segregation of business interest and family has to take place. Also, sometimes the cushion which was available in a joint family system of an elder to iron out creases in matrimonial matters is something which is missing now. So it is important that somebody plays a role. What would be played in a sense by the elders? You have caucus sessions, you talk separate with them. You have joint sessions, you try to find out what ails the relationship of the parties. And Sadhana did that with extreme aplomb. She was able to generate that confidence which is required. It's not necessary that a good litigator or a lawyer necessarily makes a good mediator. Sometimes these are different techniques, abilities required. I'm not saying a good litigator cannot make a mediator, because I have at least two examples of Mr. Chandiok and Mr. JP Singh before me. But the methodologies and the techniques needed are quite different. Sadhana epitomized that abilities which a mediator requires to carry out the task. She was able to generate an, an empathy, listen to their point of view, which is the most important task. Um, and not to, you know, push them around. So lawyers argues, judges are compelled to listen. They have no other choices. But then judges also have a habit of commanding. And I used to always say that even judges need not necessarily make good mediators, because uh, the cloak of a judge sometimes remains with the judge, and you have to shed that cloak to be able to do that. Sadhana was not burdened with such issues, and it was a combination of a commitment and a combination of a ability to listen, hear, experiment, find out the problem, and then find a solution. That's what mediation is all about. Um, Managing family conflicts today has become a huge issue. In India, I think the largest area in which mediation is working is family conflicts. And we have seen so many of these family conflicts arising not only between husband and wife. They start from the base level of husband and wife. It may be children and parents. It may be brothers and sisters. In my more than 2 decades as a judge, I don't think there's any relationship which I found as sacrosanct where disputes have not arisen, including something which came before me where it was a mother and the only child. So I said, why should it be? But there were underlying reasons for it. There were underlying reasons why the mother, say, for example, wanted the daughter out of the house with the son in law, because she believed that the son in law was responsible for something which happened to her other daughter who had passed away. So these are nuances which must be taken out to be able to solve the problem. Wherever I found a more complicated relationship case, I would at times name Sadhana as a person, encourage her to accept the mediation. I knew she would be overburdened, but I knew that she would be able to tackle it. You've seen the example recently of a serious family dispute which has cropped up and reached the Supreme Court in some tertiary form, and the court itself commented that the mother in 80 is hardly the age where she should be battling, and they should look to mediation. So courts are also conscious that in these kind of matters today, it is necessary that parties are put to alternative methods of resolution of dispute. We at times talk about in family businesses arbitration, but especially in connected business families, an endeavor is made for mediation. I think it is more successful than even arbitration at times. I can say with a recent example where there were close connected family friends At the stage of final arguments in the arbitration, in what was strictly an international commercial arbitration, I encouraged them that why don't you talk? Because I felt that the the um, the veins of the dispute run elsewhere. There was something more in that. And at that stage, we ultimately, largely by their cooperation, by finding what the problem was, uh, managed to get a consent award signed off by the parties. This is the importance of mediation in all kinds of family disputes. The webinar you will be talking about the family conflicts. All I'm trying to emphasize is family conflicts arise not only from husband and wife equations, but many other equations in the family. Family relationships, husband-wife is important. Today, large number of Supreme Court time is taken by what are called transfer petitions. What are these transfer petitions? 95% transfer petitions arise because in any matrimonial dispute, a bouquet of cases, what I call, are filed with the legal ingenuity. One dispute is made into 6 disputes. And in a mediation process, all these 6 disputes get resolved. Often this is done by advice of lawyers at times who have standard approaches to the thing. While the mediator will try to find and spend time. I think one of the most important aspects is the ability to spend time with them together and separately, not in a cut and dried manner. And that was, again, I would say, a forte of which Sadhana succeeded in this issue. I think with the kind of burgeoning dockets which we have, of course, government be a large participant of it because there are 60 part litigants, but at least what we can take out from the courts and also get better solutions must try to go to mediation. So family conflicts are one of possibly the best case scenario for mediation, whether it's the husband-wife, whether it's the business interests. Whether private mediation centers should come up, to what extent, has been debated for long. I truly believe a time has come where some maturity has come into the mediation system and private mediation systems must work. In fact, we have a unique example, I think, in the COVID times when I was part of the committee of the MCPC and all the mediators, including Mr. Chandyok, Sadhana and others, interacted themselves, uh, had contacts with the US mediators, Singapore mediators, and created a framework of the Act, of the Mediation Act. Post 2019, India signing the Singapore Convention. And we did a little bit of touching here and there to it, the committee, because there were some issues which could not be resolved. It's unfortunately a different matter. It took the government a year and a half for that. Even now, many things are lacking in that. One of the main issues which was agreed to at that time was that there should be a pre-litigation compulsory mediation. Somehow that has not found favor with the government, nor does the government wanted to give up control of the running of the mediation. But I can only say that members of the DAR should push so that the remaining portions of Act which have to come into force and the apparatus setup must come in. Because one of the challenges which mediation faces is that people at times ask, what is the binding nature? The binding nature is only contractual in nature. So, filing a mediation award, mediation settlement, giving it a concrete binding effect is an important part of it. Now, this can only happen in a structured system, which I think we need to adopt. Conflicts have increased tremendously. In the Supreme Court, I found these starting from people in their 70s wanting to separate to people with 6 months marriage wanting to separate. Each bench is dealing with at least 5 cases of these transfer petitions, which are mediations. Some are certain, some are aggravated situations, some need help. And many cases, with all the mediation centers in Delhi still, I believe there's enough work to be done. And I hope this journey, which is being carried on by Madhyam, would continue. I also hope, as I see that there are many different programs being done, This is the biggest tribute and recognition you can give to Sadhana. And remember her in the way she would like to be remembered, which is that you work as she used to work. And that, I think, is a tribute to her. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, my lords. Grateful to you for reminding us of our good old memories. To those of you who may not be knowing, I just wanted to remind my lord, the name is Brija Bayari. He was the one who shifted from USA and was part of them.
Yes, he had two names, Mr. Chandyok. He had
That's
the
right. That's right. That's
original
right.
name.
But the fact remains is, Lord, that all these played a role. So far as we were all concerned, we were all given that. And those of you who have not seen my lords working, the lordship had connected to somebody in abroad and settled a family dispute. That's how was the situation that my lordship was on the bench. Not that it's any different now. Even not now, a lot of mediations are being sent to lordship. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us.
Chandyok, just for clarification, since you mentioned that, his name is Braj Bihari and his other name is Brian Block.
That's right.
And he got in touch with me much later on after I had demitted office also to lecture to his group of people in the US
Oh,
on a virtual meeting on mediation, because even his sect, which carries on other religious teachings, he said have disputes to do so. He is now, I think, at present had again come back to Varanasi for some time.
yes, I think he has come back.
Yeah.
We have now with us, my lord, this is Geeta Mittal. I think the next synonymous with mediation is my lord's name. Wherever she went, and I think the greatest tribute I can pay the effort that she made, that after we brought this Legal Services Authorities Act under the Commercial Courts Act, her lordship was the Chief Justice, acting Chief Justice in Delhi. She said, no, Sadhana would continue to do this, not that it will go to somebody else. And I think the greatest thing that I've learned from her was, what is effective listening? When you're effective listening in mediation involves more than just hearing words. And I remember, notwithstanding the lordship was a honorable judge, she would say there's a difference between hearing and when the judges hear, when you listen as a mediator. So listen as a mediator. Your contribution to the cause of mediation, I don't need to even specify a lot. Thank you so much for accepting our request and being with us to celebrate this great birthday of our Sadhana Ramachandra. Over to you, my Lord Gita.
Thank you for your extremely kind words as always, Mr. Chandyok. Most of them are completely undeserved. But before I start with my few words, what can one add after the lovely message and talk with Justice Sanjay Kishan Paul, dear younger in age but senior in the profession, brother, has shared with us. But I like to open with inclusive greetings. I say they are the ethos of this country. So, namaskar, my friends. Sat Sri Akal, Assalam, Salam, Jule, Pranam, Vanakkam. So our greetings are relevant no matter what the time of the day. And I've just shared the link with our friends in Singapore, with Vishwa, with Go, and also with Jeng. And if they have joined, it'll be good evening there. So if I was to say good evening to you, it's good night there. So if I was to say good evening, they would be missed out. And if anybody is joining from America, it has to be good morning there. So just like the ethos of this country and the ethos of mediation, we'd like to include and include equally. And that's what our greetings do. You remain relevant. The greetings are relevant no matter which part of the world you may be in. Sadhana was my mentor. She was my guru. I learned so much from her. And she was a very, very dear friend. I wish I had known her for longer, known her closely for longer. I have seen her and followed her work when she was a lawyer. And then when mediation started and her contribution to the mediation. But I think I didn't have enough time with her. She was a transformative figure in the Indian legal landscape, who is remembered not just for her powers in the courtroom, but for her pioneering role, we will all agree, in shifting the focus from litigation to resolution. As a senior advocate and as a master mediator, she possessed the rare ability to find harmony in the midst of the most deep seated conflicts. Her legacy is defined by a few key pillars, and I would like to sum them up. Sadhana is the architect of mediation. She was instrumental in institutionalizing mediation in India, of course, championing the cause with Mr. Chandyok, with JP Singh, with Sudhanshu Batra, and ably encouraged by Justice Arjun Sikri, Justice Manmohan Sareen, and Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul. As a founder organizing committee member of Samadhan, she helped created a blueprint on how ADR could alleviate the burden on the judiciary. The Shaheen Bagh mediator, appointed by the Supreme Court of India, in a moment of intense national focus, she was appointed as a mediator during the Shaheen Bagh protests. Her presence there exemplified her professional philosophy that even the most polarized situations deserve a listening ear and a space for dignified dialogue, which she ensured. Sadhana was a dedicated mentor. Beyond her own practice, she was a prolific trainer. She traveled across India and internationally, training hundreds of judges and lawyers and others, students as well. Her work in Dehradun in the Petroleum Law College is well known in the art of mediation, ensuring that her soft power approach to law would continue through future generations. Sadhana had intellectual depth coupled with a deep empathy. Those who worked with her often remarked on a unique blend of legal rigor, deep empathy, and her tremendous discipline. She didn't just look at case files, she looked at the human relationships behind them, always striving to preserve the dignity of the parties involved. Pausing here for a moment, one of my biggest takeaways from watching Sadhana was, and this was my daily prayer before I entered the court right from 2004 when I became a judge. Let nobody leave my court with a sense that he or she has not been heard, not been listened to. I didn't care whether I was able to decide the case or not, but I did try to ensure that listening was fair. And this is something which prayer and feeling Sadhana greatly reinforced. Sadhana was also committed to private mediation. Was a founder member of Madhyam. Sadhana had tremendous writing skills. Her writing, her articles, her speeches are really worth being collated and put together even as a book. Sadhana had impeccable taste in artwork. Look at the Samadhan calendar. That's a legacy that we have inherited from Sadhana's sense for detail and her extreme sensitivity and wonderful taste. And of course, those gorgeous Kanjivaram saris. I am the beneficiary of many gifts from Sadhana. Sadhana Ramachandran remains an inspiration for those who believe that the ultimate goal of law is not just to win, but to heal. She leaves behind a legal community that is more collaborative and compassionate because of her tireless work. Let me tell you about what happened when I was appointed a judge in the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir. The court had never seen a woman judge. The first woman judge was sworn in 2 days before I took oath as a woman chief justice of that High Court. Sadhana, and accompanied by Veena Rally, came with me to Srinagar to my oath. On my first day of morning of work at Srinagar, everybody said I must visit a temple of some place to pay obeisance. I was not aware of any temple around my house. Later, I realized there was one just across the boundary wall. And lo and behold, what was Sadhana's and Veena's reaction? We were living about my house abounded a mosque. And she said, let's go to the mosque. And I went to the mosque accompanied by Sadhana, Veena, and everybody in my house, whether they were the court staff or not, they were just curious to know what would be my manner of paying respect there. It was such a tremendous bond which I forged there in this visit to the mosque with the faith that there is one God And the people of Srinagar didn't let me forget this till the last day that I spent in that state, later the Union Territories. Sadhana visited the High Court accompanied by Veena. She met lawyers and tried to create a forge a bond between their new Chief Justice and the seekers of justice as well as the lawyers. So she and her principled approach. We have heard Mr. Chandok refer to the training which I had organized in Kashmir for mediators, which was organized both in Jammu as well as in Srinagar. By the time it came for training to happen in Srinagar, Raju Ramachandran, Sadhana's husband, was already leading the bar in the challenge to the Article 370 abrogations. And Sadhana felt it would not be proper if she was to come and train judges and lawyers in these circumstances. But knowing Sadhana, watching her work, and learning from her tremendous personality was something that stays with me even today. So even though she is not there, she stays in not only my mind but in the hearts of everybody. I see 92 people have joined this wonderful webcast, and I must congratulate Madhyam for this wonderful tribute to a wonderful soul who has actually led from the front line in the efforts in building mediation. Sadhana has emphasized and humanized justice, and she has been instrumental, as I said, in mainstreaming court annex mediation. Just 2 weeks ago, happened to be in Bangalore, and I connected with Leela Olapalli, another great mediator, and we reminisced about Sadhana. And Leela actually said how much she missed Sadhana's presence in Delhi, especially in keeping in view the struggle that mediation was facing, not only in getting the statute which the mediators in India deserve, the people of India deserve, but also in the difficulties and the discouragement and all the pitfalls or the difficulties that mediators are finding in giving a fillip to private mediation as an institution. So we have gathered here today not merely to discuss conflict, but to reflect on how we resolve it with dignity, empathy, and institutional sensitivity. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul has made such a tremendous contribution to the development of ADR. He was, I think, the energy and the force behind Samadhan while he was in Delhi. He carried it with him to Chandigarh and then to the High Court of Madras. And not only to ADR, but of course, he is known for his contribution to development of constitutional jurisprudence. Family disputes are not purely legal problems. They are emotional, they are intergenerational, and they are rooted in identity, trust, and expectations. Courts are approached only after communications have broken down and relationships have deteriorated. If we treat family conflicts as adversarial disputes, we risk deepening the fracture rather than resolving it. Judicial experience highlights that litigation, not often, it certainly exacerbates hostility. Time delays worsen emotional and financial strain, and the binary outcomes, that is, you either win or lose a case, are inadequate, certainly for family structures. Some of the insights from my judicial experience were that courts can enforce rights but cannot restore relationships. For instance, I had before me the dispute relating to the famous Khanna family of the Chanakya cinema. The dispute had been languishing and pending in the court for 40 years. As was my practice when I was a judge of 2-3 years vintage on the original side, into way back in 2006, 2007, I took the family into my chambers. And I remember the mother and the matriarch and the patriarch coming in on wheelchairs, the father holding a stick, and they could barely walk into my chambers. They were so sad and upset. Fortunately, the senior counsels in the matter, and with my little egging on, we were able to resolve the dispute. But see where 40 years of litigation took the family. The day a boundary wall was drawn up, demarcating the shares between the brothers. The father had a heart attack and he died. This is what litigation can result in, and this is what mediation can provide. Mediation is the primary pathway for enabling parties to be heard. It preserves dignity, encourages ownership of outcomes. It moves parties from positions to interests and to understanding. And it certainly allows flexible and customized solutions, as we saw Sadhana achieved in the case where the divorced couple came together. So, mediation, I feel, really emphasizes what has been my mantra through courts, that access to justice is not synonymous with access to courts. I think mediation can play a big role in ensuring access to justice for parties who may be having differences and maybe in court or maybe planning to go to court. We have pre-litigation mediation as well. It enables protection of vulnerable groups in a manner in which courts are finding it very difficult to do. Women face structural disadvantages in family disputes. Power imbalances can be actively addressed in mediation meetings. The safety, dignity, and autonomy of the parties, especially the marginalized woman, is treated as non negotiable in the mediation process. The resolution of the dispute cannot come at the cost of justice. Mediation must empower, it must not silence. Family court conflict resolutions must be accessible, affordable, as well as timely. What can be the role of institutions? In the role of institutions, so far as courts is concerned, normally refers to strengthening legal aid mechanisms, but we have seen the way the courts are now integrating mediation at the pre-litigation stage, which enables parties to attempt exploring resolution of disputes even before they have thought of taking the matter to the court. There is one area where I think we are all, there is a big gap, and perhaps Madhyam can fill the gap. And Sadhana and I often talked about it. It is the lack of awareness among the citizens about mediation, about the process of mediation, about the credibility and integrity of mediations, and how to build confidence in mediation and its ability to reach resolutions. Justice systems must be people centric, not process centric, and mediation is certainly not process centric. There is a strong need for capacity building and a cultural shift, especially in the area of family mediation. Samadhan is a prime example of where what is most required is provided. When I was in the Delhi High Court, we were able to set up a center where we could actually have developed e-facilities for communicating and mediating with parties who were unable to come to Samadhan. It was inaugurated by Justice Madan Lokur at that time. And the mediation I have found requires a cultural shift. This I notice especially in the societies and the values which existed in Jammu and Kashmir. There has to be a cultural acceptance of the mediation process. It is easy to have mediation as one of the tools of alternate dispute redressal, but to treat it as an integral part of a resolution process in family matters requires a cultural acceptance. Sadhana led, and Mr. Chandyok actually has led the process of professional training of mediators. Manesar, the training at Manesar, which Justice Kaul has pointed out, was such a wonderful innovation and introduction into the institutionalized mediation process, court annex mediation process of the Delhi High Court. But it has enabled creation of a huge body of professionally trained mediators who are performing excellent functions in dispensing, ensuring mediated resolution of disputes. It has also ensured development of ethical frameworks, which should be the mantra of every mediation institution and of every mediator. We have engaged extensively in Delhi, and certainly the contribution, I don't want to undermine anybody's contribution, but since we are celebrating Sadhana's life and Sadhana's legacy, I will emphasize on a deep and strong commitment and a role in engaging with all the stakeholders, be it judges, be it lawyers, be it mediators, be it community institutions. Mr. Chandyok has referred to Sadhana mediating beyond time. I know of a case where a father was bedridden, and it was a colony in South Delhi, and he had an old wife, and there was there are two sons who were fighting over the father's property. And Sadhana actually visited them in their house. She would carry snacks with her to ease the discomfort of the patriarch of that family. So the key shift which is required, which Sadhana greatly emphasized, was from the adversarial mindset to a collaborative resolution mindset. We have been able to introduce online dispute resolution mechanisms. We have expanded access, especially for families separated geographically. But there must be a caution. Technology must complement and cannot replace human sensitivity, especially in the mediation process. So, Sadhana's belief in dialogue over dispute, her role in institutionalizing mediation in India, and her emphasis on empathy as a core value of dispute resolution is a strong reminder of what her legacy is, that justice is not only about resolution, it is about restoration. So, while family conflicts are inevitable, but the manner of resolution defines societal values. I would call upon Madhyam to continue with its energy and its contribution to strengthening mediation frameworks, to invest even more in training and awareness. I have myself been party to one of your leadership trainings in Agra, and I know how much I've learned from that. And it must promote empathy within legal systems. We must remember that the success of a justice system is not measured by the number of cases it decides, but by the number of relationships it helps preserve. I am extremely grateful to Mr. Chandyok, to Sarika, to Pooja, to Neelam, and the entire team at Madhyam for giving me this opportunity to remember a deeply cherished and deeply missed friend, mentor, and a guru. Sadhana is somebody who I learned from not only about the spirit of justice, or the spirit of oneness, about the spirit of empathy, importance of empathy, and what it can do, but I also learned about colors. I also learned about, sensitive writings. I also learned about what it is to be disciplined. She was able to do so much in the time that God gave us with us. She was not only an extremely fine mediator, she was an extremely fine advocate. She was a very fine wife, mother, daughter-in-law, and a daughter, as well as a sister. I see Shobna has joined us today in this webcast, and I'm sure she will endorse my words. So thank you again, Madhyam, the entire team Madhyam, for this excellent, tribute to a wonderful part of Madhyam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my lord, for giving us the total bandwidth of mediation and how Sadhana played a role. I am grateful to Mr. Raju Ramachandran to be with us on this day, and the family who is all along, including Shobna, so that there could be no better tribute or no better way to celebrate our birthday. I must also at the same time announce to everybody that Madhyam has already taken an initiative to start a Sadhana Ramachandran Young Mediator Award 2026. We will soon invite youngsters to contribute to that. A panel will examine them, and then we'll get 3 of them published in the brochure that we are publishing for the day. We have an ADR conference coming up in August. I just come to that in a minute. And the person who gets the first award would get the award which has been contributed by the family, Mr. Raju Ramachandran, as a cash award of $50,000. We thank you, Raju Ramachandran, for being with us, supporting us at every moment. And of course, my 2 honorable judges who have always been, I don't find a single instance in my 16 years of career as president of the bar that I found ever. After Justice Call told me on the very first day when he came as a member of the committee, I had probably written a letter to the Chief Justice, and he came to the meeting and he said, "This letter is by you." He says, "I'm going to reply to 4 times this way." I said, "There's no need, sir." He says, "Why write?" I said, "Please give me a letter back." I took the letter back and tore it in front of the committee. And thereafter, there was no writing, absolutely no writing. We would talk, we will finish and go forward. And I can only tell everybody, especially my youngsters who have joined, that but for the support of the bench, you would not have even seen the infrastructure of the High Court that you see today, the best possible in the country today. And therefore, lawyers, especially who give them chambers, etc., is all their help that we have been able to get. And of course, Sadhana would say everywhere, Amarjit is my boyfriend, Amarjit is my brother, Amarjit is my everything. So Amarjit and Sadhana was, many people tried to put breaks into it, but we both were not possible to do that. I think I lost a mentor, a beautiful friend, somebody who had confidence in me. I remember it. I cherish those moments. And I pray God may bestow some mothers opportunities to give birth to children like Sadhana so that harmony in the society can be brought out faster. Before I hand it over to Honorable Neelam Rathore for her vote of thanks, I have to announce 2 things. One, that we thought with somewhere we find many times that our people are not able to finish, come to a mediated settlement. So arbitration must get its due. So we have started in her name, Sadhana Ramachandran Learning Series. Episode 6 are over. 7 is now due, which is being held on 16th of May. And we have eminent 3 professors coming and 3 senior counsels who practice in arbitration to tell our participants and request you all to see how you can bring in this knowledge. And I can only give you one example of it, that the Supreme Court said that 3 months is fine as prescribed period, but 30 days is not prescribed. Therefore, 30 days, if they end in summer vacation, I am sorry, we will not allow you to reopen the whole thing. I thought it was not correct. The proviso uses both the expression. So we are now bringing those very points before these youngsters and those who participate. Please join us on 16th and see this, how the academic field as well as lawyers tell us how we can deal with these topics. One of them I'll underline. Then we have last year, we got an invitation and we went to United States again, this time to Judge Denny and James Institute at San Francisco. Again, we were led by 2 honorable judges, and at the end of that, a question was asked, what do you think about it? They said, new ideas have come, new doors have opened, new windows have opened, and I think it will help us. As normally my Lord Justice Call says, I learned a lot even for my dispensation of justice as the honorable judge. So I think they also said the same thing. We have now an association with them holding an ADR International in Delhi in August 7th to 9th. We request you all to look at that, join us there so that we can take this alternative dispute resolution to a higher level so that our courts are not showing us those lot of cases every day. Of course, there are so many other problems. But at least if we as mediators in arbitration, we are able to take the load off, we will be able to do into access of justice, which is fundamental in the Constitution. Over to you, Neelam Madam.
Thank you, sir. Our honorable judges, respected sir, the family members of Sadhana, Raju and Shobna, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to everyone. Today's webinar, held in fond memory of Sadhana, has been more than a formal tribute. It has felt like reliving her presence, her warmth, and her unwavering commitment to mediation. An ever-smiling face, a passionate mediator, with a sharp eye for precision. Spellings and commas always mattered, because for Sadhana, carelessness implied disrespect. Many of us will remember how she would gently but firmly correct us when we got them wrong. And I take liberty with our honorable judges to give this example that, sir, whenever it came to writing your name, she was always particular that there is no E in Kishan. It's an A. And for ma'am, she was always particular that there is I, it is Gita and not double E. Those lessons have stayed with us. And whenever we are drafting anything, putting a comma is a remembrance of Sadhana. Sadhana always believed empathy, patience, and genuine dialogue lie at the core of resolving even the most complex and sensitive conflicts, as has been brought out by our honorable judges too. Through her distinct approach to family disputes, she's left a lasting impact on the mediation community, including our judiciary. She was a trailblazer in many ways. On behalf of Madhyam, we express our sincere gratitude to our honorable judges, the distinguished speakers of the day, who graced this occasion, this event, with their wisdom and insight, and engaged so thoughtfully with the theme of managing family conflicts, an area especially close to Sadhana's heart. Your personal recollections made it seem as though she was among us, capturing beautifully her quiet strength, her sensitivity, her uniqueness, and the depth that she brought to everything she handled, an event, writing a book, taking out a souvenir, or handling a case. The reflections shared today on the family conflicts, which Justice Kaul said is a bouquet of disputes. Mediation should be the first option, have truly enriched everyone present here. Thank you, our honorable judges, for highlighting the pioneering and transformative role played by Sadhana in popularizing and developing mediation, aptly coined the architect of mediation. To our esteemed participants, Sadhana possessed a rare ability to connect with people. And your presence here today reflects the depth of those bonds. It is often said, a tribute becomes meaningful when shared. And today, each one of you has made this remembrance truly special with your presence. I would also like to acknowledge the efforts of our team, led by Sarika and Sumit, whose quiet dedication ensured everything came together seamlessly. And sir, your guidance and your insistence on excellence continue to shape all that we do. And for that, we offer our deep gratitude. As many of you know, and Sir has also just alluded to, Madhyam has named its ADR learning series after Sadhana Ramachandran, in tribute to her lifelong quest for learning. I would not mention the award which has been instituted by her family, which Sir has already alluded to. Sadhana often said, mediation in India has its own soul, rooted in culture, in relationships, in diversity, and in our shared humanity. Let us honor that legacy, not through words, but through our actions. And as Justice Kaul aptly said, remember Sadhana in the way she would like to be remembered. She always emphasized on how we listen, how we respond, and how we resolve conflict with dignity and compassion. Let us pay our true tribute to her by following these principles and ideals that she lived by. On behalf of Madhyam, I once again thank everyone for being part of this tribute and for keeping her memory alive in such a meaningful way. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to see you soon. Thank you, Sushila ji.
Thank you, Sushila.
Namaste, namaste.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see everyone here. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody, for the celebration.
Very nice,
Thank
very
you.
nice, all of you. Very nice.
What's this that you do? Or something specific?
Thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.